Well, in the world of finance, there's always mesmerizing ways to actually change the facts and to hide what the reality of the situation is. Just like even when you buy an investment in something, it could have underlying garbage in it. It could be protected on the first surface layers by tranches that have strong assets, and then beneath the surface, the majority of it is total garbage. Well, here's another one from Wall Street, and it's all voodoo speak as always. You know how we have the gross domestic product, the GDP of the United States, and actually the major media has now been acknowledging that there's been problems going on and the underlying economy is looking weaker. So Wall Street came up with the new acronym, the GDI, the gross domestic income, to state that, well, actually the gross domestic income is going up. Well, first off, I have to actually say a few things about these numbers and the underlying reality that's behind them. First off, when you say the gross domestic income is going up, well, income where? Because one thing that we've become acutely aware of in recent years, and it was back about 5 years ago that in the 1920s, it was said that we were at the second greatest time of wealth disparity between the wealthy and the poor in this country about 5 years ago, and actually it was even worse back in the 20s. Well, as of this moment, the wealth disparity between rich and poor is the greatest it's ever been. So if the GDI, or the gross domestic income, is going up, where is it going up? Is it just going up in the top echelon, the 1% of the 1%, the 1 basis point? More than likely. Because actually that's what's been going on. That's what's been going on for the last... That's what's been going on since the recovery, supposedly, that we've had since the 2008-2009 crash, the financial crash. The actual recovery's been mostly in the top echelon, the ones that are connected to the banking system. So now this new phrase is GDI. But I actually have to say this, even about GDP, gross domestic product. When you're talking about this, I actually have to look at it like, what is the gross domestic product? In other words, yeah, you can measure it in numbers, but are we just selling more counseling services or fluff that really doesn't help people, like, nuts and bolts, improved roadways, stronger houses, better cars, better manufacturing, hard, durable goods? Even clothing. Yeah, clothing. That's practically 99% of the retail clothing that is sold in this country is made overseas by slave labor. There's been major freaking calamities with collapsed buildings and because people have been working under sweatshop conditions. Saying, yeah, that helped the bottom line of a few executives over here, and that contributed to the GDI, the gross domestic income. You see how these numbers don't really mean anything in a lot of ways? They should mean something, but, actually I think a real good measurement of the U.S. economy, and this is really where, I don't want to paint the picture that's bleak, but they're doing this by design, and actually the people on the top are just grabbing the money and running and not thinking about the long-term consequences, even for themselves. But actually the best measurement of the economy would be the actual gross domestic production of hard, durable goods. If you're talking about, various, because back, if you look back 100 years or so, how many people were being paid for like counseling services or whatever, or family counseling services or whatever, those type of things with domestic disputes and and how many kids were given 15 different medications because they didn't pay attention in school or something, and that's all part of your gross domestic product, which isn't contributing to a few people's gross domestic income, basically not the average person, that's for sure. So even when they're measuring this gross domestic income, it's going up. It's definitely not going up across the board in the United States. But, it's another freaking excuse. They're trying to freaking blow smoke over everybody and say, yeah, this is the situation. We came up with a new term, and this is really how it is. And it's like that's all they do, man. How do you think they got all that money, man? They're full of it. You know, it's like they'll sell you a cow pie they found in the pasture, and they go plate it, and they say, well, this is one of the best things from nature. Here you go. It's solid gold, man. And on the inside, it's nothing but doo-doo. So that's exactly what they even do when they package a lot of these investments, or when money's created through loans, and this happens in China too. Believe me, it's all over in China. It's not like, I don't want to just criticize the United States or Wall Street, but it's like it's all over in China. I mean, it's shadow banking system and everything. That's it. Where a lot of the freaking exponential growth in construction. How is it funded in China? And now it's taking the hard crash. But actually, when I look at things, when something tangible, something you could touch, something that's physical, something that is a useful, capital, durable good that you would use for a long period of time, and say there's more sales of that. If there's more sales of those type of things, I would say the economy is spurring on, regardless of other numbers. But obviously, those type of things are not spurring on, and even the simple retail sales of clothing, even when we have a lot of sales in that, for instance, it's all being produced overseas by slave labor. So, but again, the profits are going right in the pockets of the top upper management, and that's contributing to the GDI. Even when Apple sells their watches, or Apple watches, or their phones and stuff. I mean, somebody over there in Apple, and the executives over here in Apple are, just to give you another example, but they're not the only ones. They're making loads of money, loads of profitability off of that. But actually, the actual durable goods aren't made here. It's just going to be a matter of time when this all comes to critical mass. Unfortunately, I wish the critical mass would come in stages, and it would give a warning that we need to make some real serious changes and fix things. But instead, the critical mass usually happens all at once. But that's what happens when, well, a lot of people that have a lot of money, though, are very narcissistic, cute-talking people that they will just make up excuses for whatever's happening, and there's always a way around to make the pitch to the public that everything's rosy, or to make the sale, or create the situation that they need to create to get over. And the reality of the situation is, we really just got to get down to nuts and bolts, man, and freaking get the stuff done. Because instead of freaking trying to hide the actual reality of things and say, and it's like, say the situation's bad, it really is. It's like, you don't want to actually have a negative attitude and say, oh, the situation's bad, we failed, oh, it's bad, and because you'll create the situation. You got to realize, you got to take the pain and freaking fix it, and go ahead and, do the job, and you get it done, right? So, but Wall Street's got this new term out there, the GDI, the gross domestic income, and I'm thinking, yeah, we'll say it did go up. Who did it go up with? Only the upper basis point, the 1% of the 1%. And that's another freaking problem. We got far more disparity between the wealthy and the poor in this country. And it's continuing to get far more skewed. And, they're trying to tell you everything's getting better. And I'm like, oh, God, man. Anyway, I just figured I'd tell you about these latest shenanigans from Wall Street. The GDI, the gross domestic income, is the measurement we got to go by, not the gross domestic product, according to them. So if they make a lot of money, that means everybody's doing great, right? No. There ain't no trickle-down theory. I know that was one of the things with the Republicans. I'm like saying, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but that's a fact that there is no trickle-down theory, man. There is none. There isn't any. That's BS, man. It's more true when you got people that are actually building something, maybe, like say they're building bridges, and they got a lot more business going. They're gonna have to hire more people to build the bridges. that type of trickle down theory would work. But when you're just talking, yeah, we got a new way to freaking create money out of thin air. Forget about that deal. So anyway, more shenanigans out of Wall Street. What else is freaking new? So don't be fooled by them. I mean, I know a lot of people don't realize. I've just been around this stuff so long. I mean, I know there's so many ways you can interpret things. It's amazing. It's amazing.